Wayne Polson served as a pilot in the military. His Mount Rose upski operation lasted 3 years before he left for the Second World War. But he kept his vision for a major ski resort in the Sierra, and he knew where he'd put it, a valley west of Lake Tahoe that he'd found one winter while snow surveying with Dr. James Church. Sandy Polson remembers when her husband first told her of the place during a dance in Sun Valley, Idaho.
When we were dancing, he said, "You're going to live in Squaw Valley." Of course, nobody had ever heard of Squaw Valley. There was nothing here but an old barn, and there was a sheep herder's camp on one side and the barn and the stables on the other side. And no, I said, "Where's Squaw Valley?"
Squaw Valley was home to cattle, sheep, and wildlife when Wayne Polson bought it from Southern Pacific Railroad in 1943. He and his family would spend weeks there in the summer, living in tents and hiking the majestic mountains around them. Polson dreamed of a year-round resort at Squaw Valley, starting with a ski area. In need of financing to develop his resort, he met with many potential investors. One of them, a lawyer from New York by the name of Alex Cushing, would join Polson in starting the Squaw Valley Development Corporation in 1948. Irreconcilable differences in business and personal philosophies would destroy the partnership, leaving Cushing with the ski resort and Polson with the valuable valley below. Alex Cushing was another ski refugee from World War II. On Thanksgiving Day 1949, he and Wayne Polson opened the Squaw Valley ski area. There was one chairlift and a small day lodge. 11 years later, it would be the site of the 8th Winter Olympics.
Did you have a vision, or did you just say, "This is a really nice place and I want to get a hold of it"?
I think that I didn't really have a vision. Going back to work in New York in a Wall Street law firm, which is what I was doing, after 5 years away in the war, it wasn't very appealing going back there. So I came here in a way to avoid going back to New York.
As World War II veterans began building the business of skiing, more people began taking up the sport. In 1955, another of the Sierra's major modern resorts opened when the chairlifts at Heavenly Valley started on Lake Tahoe's South Shore. Once again, it was a man's love of skiing that inspired the lifestyle.
Chris Carrizes, who began Heavenly, he ran away from home when he was 15 and upped in the Army Corps, and from there ended up becoming a multi-millionaire down the road. When he came to South Lake in 1953 with his wife, they purchased for, I think, under $5,000 what was then called the Bijou Ski Run. It was just a couple of rope tows. He named it Heavenly Valley to sort of attract people to the place because of its really beautiful moderate slopes and majestic views.
Today, Heavenly Ski Area covers more than 3,000 acres in 2 states, the biggest ski resort in the Sierra. A handful of other Tahoe ski areas were also started in the decade after World War II. Sierra Ski Ranch, today called Sierra at Tahoe, opened in 1946. Mammoth Mountain started operation in 1951, and Donner Ski Ranch opened in the mid-50s. The 1950s were just the beginning for the ski industry. By the end of the decade, ski makers were perfecting metal edges and lock-in bindings. Chairlifts were becoming more efficient and more common, making the sport more attractive to more people. Skiing was also becoming specialized. You could downhill, cross-country, or telemark.
There were a half-dozen ski areas in the Sierra by the end of the 1950s. The next big growth spurt for the industry would come at the start of the next decade, and it would make the Tahoe area the center of the skiing universe. The Olympics come to Squaw Valley when our West continues.